Let me get the poll up on the screen and then I'll do that. Then you can do that.
I'm Hannah. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager at Hazone. Good to see everyone.
Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
So sorry we did not do introductions well at all.
That's okay.
Maybe Hannah and Morgan should put in their names
Okay.
Hazon or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, if everybody wants to add that their staff or their role into it, just as part of our announcements, we're gonna tell people that staff members and leaders are great people to connect with if they have very specific questions.
Yeah.
Great, and can everyone see our poll on the screen?
Yes.
Great.
Yes. Can I type LL as a response?
Sure.
So Alani, you shared the Google Doc with everyone, so people joining the call will get it too?
No, because they're not in it right now.
Yeah, it's only the people who are in the call right now.
Yeah, chat doesn't backtrack.
Oh, I'm admitting Lindsay.
Great.
Okay, I'm gonna make us go live on Facebook just in case it takes us a couple minutes.
Perfect. And then once that's good to go, we will open the waiting room and let everyone in.
Lindsay, change your name to say Israel Right Staff, please.
Lindsay Right Staff. She doesn't have to take away the Lindsay part.
Yes, Lindsay Zemler, Israel Right Staff, yes.
Hi, Lindsay. It's Miriam. I miss you.
You're hiding.
Sarah, will you make Hannah elevate to
Am I
co-host?
hiding? No.
I'm not the real host, so I can't.
I'm making Hannah host or co-host?
Co-host. So she is the admin.
Well, I could go with my hat. Where is it? Great question. Should go take a picture of my tree. I have to take a picture for Abigail. I'll be right back.
Picture for me, what?
Sarah, how are we doing? Are we live on Facebook?
We are live.
Okay, it's 3:34. Should we let the masses in?
Let's do it.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our virtual Israel Ride orientation. We're so excited that you are all here with us this afternoon to formally kick off our fantastic week of events. On your screen, while we are waiting for the rest of our community to join us, you'll see a poll to ask you a different question about what brought you here to the virtual Israel Ride. So please feel free to visit the link that is in the chat box right now, or go to the website and use the code that's listed on the shared screen and type in your answer about what brought you here to the virtual Israel Ride. Your answers will pop up on the screen once you submit them. To anyone who's just joining us, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited that you're joining us this afternoon for our formal orientation to kick off our virtual Israel Ride. Feel free to answer the question that's on the screen by visiting the website and using the code, or visiting the link that's in the chat. And share your answer and check out what everyone's sharing. What brought you here to the virtual Israel Ride today? And for anyone who's just joined us, we're so excited that you're here. Feel free to answer the question that's on the screen about what brought you to the virtual Israel ride today. You can visit the website that's listed and use the code, or feel free to click the link that's in the chat. We're going to get started in just another minute, so feel free to include your responses. And for our last few people that are joining us, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. While we're waiting for the rest of our community to join us, feel free to add your answer to the question about what brought you to the virtual Israel ride today. Visit the website that's listed on the screen or click the link that's in the chat and add your response to our growing wall of all the different reasons that brought us all here together this afternoon. We'll take another 10 seconds for any further responses, and then we're going to get started and kick off our fabulous afternoon together. All right, thank you everyone so much for your responses to help frame our beautiful afternoon. We'll come back to this document in a second. So hi everyone, again, it's wonderful to welcome you all here to our virtual Israel Ride orientation. We're so thrilled that all of you are joining your afternoon or spending part of your afternoon with us as part of the virtual Israel Ride. Before I turn it over to Howie Rodenstein, our Ride co-founder and chair, to formally welcome us, I just wanted to spend a few minutes going through some Zoom tips and tricks and best practices to help everybody have a really wonderful experience. So as you'll see on Zoom right now, all of our participants, everyone is muted. We're doing that just to help with some noise cancellation. So at any point, if you have a question, please feel free to use the chat box to chat it to us. We're happy to answer your question or unmute you. And additionally, you'll see many members of our Israel Ride team have the words Israel Ride staff in their names. So at any point, please feel free to direct chat any of us. We're happy to help you out with any step of the process. And a few recommendations. When joining Zoom, always think about the fact that your camera is on. You can control that, but just always remember that your camera is on and think about the different backgrounds and things that are around you. We always recommend that you view our Zoom in gallery mode. You have the opportunity to see all the different faces. And a few times over the course of our presentations and conversations, we'll be highlighting and feature some different speakers, which means the speaker will be big on your screen. And another tip that I personally love doing is that anytime there is a screen share on the top of the screen, it'll say the words, "You are viewing someone's screen." And right next to that, there's a link that says view options. And I always love to use the side-by-side option, which lets you both view whoever's speaking on one side or the different gallery of all the participants. And on the other side, you'll see the screen. And so without further ado, I am thrilled to introduce Howie Rodenstein, our Ride founder and chair, to formally welcome and kick us off this afternoon.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Alana. Welcome everybody to the 2020 Virtual Israel Ride. My name is Howie Rodenstein. I live in the Boston area and I'm the founder and chair of the ride. This is our 18th year of rides and I've had the amazing experience of attending each year. Of course, this year is not like the previous 17, but we've done our best to make this year special in its own way. The pandemic has turned all of our lives upside down and created huge gaps for every person and every organization. And the virtual Israel Ride this year is about bridging those gaps. Bridging two amazing beneficiaries, the Aravai Institute and Chazon, bridging the gap for you, our Israel Ride community. Our beneficiaries' worlds have been upended. They have had to rethink everything, every program, every course, every activity. They've had to deal with shrinking revenues from students and programming, funders' nervousness, and a big hole in their budgets from the money that came from the Israel Ride. For us, the Israel Ride over the years has become much more than a bike ride. It's become a community, over 1,500 alumni, with countless connections that continue well beyond any one ride year. This includes not just riders, but staff and crew who return year after year for our amazing journey. We can't ride down the Machtesh or up the Meshuggah Hill, but we can accompany each other virtually and keep the vibrancy of our community. While we can't replicate the highs of the Israel Ride, our dedicated staff has worked long and hard to put together an innovative virtual program that has a bit of everything. Riding together virtually with Zwift and Peloton, virtual tours with our tour guides, Jared and Bill, student panels, a conversation with Gaza, social hours and lunches, yoga, and much more. We don't expect you to attend everything, but we hope you will find the sessions that interest you and join us. Alana and Sarah will be providing much more information about the program in a few minutes. Before we continue, I want to take a minute and say a huge thank you. Thank you to you, the Israel Ride community, and especially to those of you here today. The community has really answered the call. We just surpassed 200 riders, and with your continued efforts, we have a shot of raising over $200,000. We are bridging the gap. Thank you to each and every one of you. Some of you have done peer-to-peer, some of you have just donated personally. We appreciate all of what you've done, but our job is not done. Just like on the Israel Ride, our fundraising stays open until the end of December. We appreciate all your fundraising efforts, but would ask, if you can, to consider doing a little more. I know I'm going to send another set of fundraising emails next week. I just want to again say thank you. It's amazing to me what we've accomplished, and it has been an honor for me to lead the Israel Ride for all these years, but especially this year. I now want to introduce the professional staff that has worked incredibly hard to put this together. First, from the Arava Institute in Israel, Abigail Ben Yochanan, our ride director in Israel. Lindsay Zemler, our crew director in Israel. David Lair, the executive director of the Arava Institute. From the Friends of the Arava, the director of development. And Miriam May, the CEO of the Friends of the Arava. And from Chazon, Alana Tillman, the associate director of special events, and Sarah Pilavin, the special events coordinator. More than anybody else, Alana and Sarah have worked countless hours to make this all happen. And while most of us have a relaxed week, they will be working very hard over the course of the next number of days to keep our virtual ride going. And thank you, Alana and Sarah. Morgan Dorsch, the Associate Director of Development for Chazon, and Nigel Savage, the founder and CEO of Chazon. Finally, I'd like to introduce David Eisenberg, who has served as the Vice Chair of the Ride since 2012, has been an incredible help and support for me and a key part of our success over the last number of years. David?
Thanks very much, Howie, and thank you everybody for being here today. It's on one hand bittersweet. This is a day that normally I'd be in Israel and excited. If we'd stuck with the calendar for this year, I'd be in Israel now and anticipating the opening of the Israel Ride in 2 days and already checked into our base hotel. So this year is clearly different, but it has been a real reflection on the Israel Ride and the fact that there are so many experiences that happen off the bike that this year, once we realized that it just wasn't going to be possible to do the ride, we could still work with the staff and work with the rest of the leadership to put together a program for the week that hopefully helps the new people learn more about the experience of the Israel Ride and the work of the two organizations it supports. And for those of us who have been many times, help support the connection. those of you who know me know that I consistently refer to the secret sauce of the Israel Ride as being the crew, and then the unique combination of the crew, the staff, and the nature of the people who will actually give up a week of their lives to be in Israel to do this bike ride. That's still the secret sauce this year, even though we're not in Israel. And one thing I hope that people will do is, as the week unfolds, there's a great calendar. We're going to go through it a little bit later, but find the things that speak to you, sign up for them, participate in them, and also use it as a chance to build some new friendships, rekindle some old ones, and stay connected to people. And I think that that's really the key things. What I wanted to say in the opening. One thing that I always, at least since 2013, have wanted to say now, because it matters to me, as excited as I am about this year's Israel Ride, I'm equally excited that today marks the opening of registration for next year's Israel Ride. And I hope that many people who join us for the week of programming we have ahead will take advantage of that being open. And if you haven't already committed to joining us in person next year, please do. One thing I should note, we all hope and pray that the pandemic is long behind us by next fall. But if it's not, and it turns out that we have to cancel or again postpone the ride, any registration fees will be refunded. So I look at it as a chance to register and have the very excitement of the 2021 Israel Ride on my calendar. And if it turns out it can't happen, then nothing lost. So thank you very much, Howie, and everybody for your leadership in this and pulling it together, and to all the participants. And with that, let me turn it over to Rachel, who will tell you a little bit more about what a wonderful group of people we have registered to participate this year.
Thanks, David. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see so many of you. And I know there are many more who aren't even here. And this, back up one more slide there. This is just a quick snapshot of who is part of this year's virtual Israel Ride. When we realized that we couldn't do the ride in person, we were hopeful and excited and knew we could put together a great program, but we needed all of you to help make it happen. We had 46 virtual ride committee and team captains who helped to recruit more than 200 riders, and 18 teams. I think we might even have more by now based on what I saw earlier, from representing 24 states, DC and Puerto Rico, as well as riders from Israel, Australia, and Canada. We have more than 30 first-time Israel riders. And for those of you who are first-time Israel riders, a couple of whom we met earlier, we hope that this will be a great window into what is the special sauce of the Israel Ride, and that you'll choose to join us next year in Israel. And we have 150 alumni who have come back because they love the special sauce that is part of the Israel Ride, even if we're doing it virtually. So I want to welcome all of you, and that gives you a small snapshot. And I think we're going to continue to grow. We keep attracting new registered riders, so you can tell your friends if they're interested, they can still sign up and join us. As Howie mentioned earlier, a key part of this ride is the community, and another key part of this is the fundraising. And I want to thank all of you for all of your fundraising so far. So far to date, we've raised over $138,000, and I know more is coming in. I've heard from many of you, as have Alana and Sarah. We will be fundraising until the end of December, so you can continue to do that. And if you have any questions about your letters or about any of that, just let any of us know. Jan, this gives you a snapshot of some of our top fundraisers, our top teams. Our top fundraisers, we've got Harvey, Howie, and David, who are in very close competition. So it's going to be interesting to see how the week plays out for the three of them. And then David and Deborah and Sharon and many others have joined us. We really so appreciate your support. JNF Mid-Atlantic has raised over 20,000 so far. JNF Wisconsin has 25 members. We are grateful for all of these people. We and encourage you to continue doing what you're doing. It makes a huge difference, as Howie said, in this year when for both Hazon and the Arava Institute, the year is different than what we had planned for. All of your support, all of your fundraising, all of your fundraising makes a huge difference. And with that in mind, you can continue to earn incentives. Most of you should have received your gaiters and your masks already. As you continue to fundraise, you'll be eligible for this lovely jersey, as well as we have jackets, shorts, t-shirts, and hats. Our store will be up online. I don't think it's online yet. It will be up online. If you're interested in purchasing additional mask gaiters and other Israel Ride jerseys. If you have any questions about any of these incentives, the details are on our website, and you can also reach out to any of the staff, and we're happy to help you with that and happy to help you make your way towards these incentives. And just want to thank you so much and looking forward to seeing you at the programming over this week. And now to learn a little bit more about our beneficiary organizations. We're going to hear, I think, first from Nigel Savage from Hazon, and then we'll hear from David Lair and Miriam May.
Thanks so much, Rachel. So Nigel Savage, Hazon's founder and CEO, unfortunately is unable to join us in person this afternoon. He is, as we speak, leading a keynote on the General Assembly, the Jewish Federations of North America's virtual conference, which is taking place right now. And so we have a recording from him to share some greetings. So if you hold on for one moment, we will put that up.
Hi, 2020 Virtual Israel Ride. I'm Nigel Savage, I'm CEO of Hazon, and I'm psyched, at least virtually, to be with you. The last big group that I was speaking to early this year was in Seattle, the last group before COVID. And I began by saying, I've been thinking about the optimist and the pessimist. And the pessimist says, I just don't see how things could possibly get any worse. And the optimist says, oh, I think I can. Well, that was February. It was Tu B'Shvat. Little did I or we know that things could get worse. This has, of course, been an incredibly crazy and intense year. People have lost their lives. People have lost their jobs. People have lost money, all sorts of awful things. And it has been a huge hit to Hazon. Almost every single one of our programs was directly affected, including, of course, preeminently the rides themselves. We lost a huge chunk of money. We had to let a whole load of staff go. And yet, we are ending this year and going into 2021 with, I think, greater clarity and greater focus than we have ever had. The beginnings of Hazon has been, the world is messed up. This is a climate crisis. What can any one of us do about it? And we are coming out of this year absolutely clear about what our job is as an organization. We want it to be the case that 10 years from now, actually 9 years from now, in September 2029, at the end of the next full 7-year Shemitah cycle in Jewish life, we want it to be the case that if you walk into any Jewish institution, it will be absolutely clear that to be Jewish is to care seriously about making a more sustainable world for everybody. We have an enormous raft of programs. We have our physical home at Isabella Friedman, Adamat, our farming program, work on the ground in Detroit and elsewhere. This year we launched the Jewish Youth Climate Movement for teenagers, which is taking off. An enormous slew of things that are going on. But every single thing that we are doing fundamentally is about leveraging the assets of Jewish life, organizations, leadership, Jewish thought, ideas, in order to drive systemic change. Think of it as being analogous to people who changed the status of women in Jewish life over a 70 or 80-year period. People said, why shouldn't a girl have a bat mitzvah? Why shouldn't a woman be a rabbi? Why shouldn't women be paid equally to men? And an awful lot of people, an awful lot of organizations within and beyond the Jewish community did that work over a multi-decadal period. And if you walk into any Jewish institution today, as a girl or a boy or anybody else, it is different. Well, around climate, we don't have decades. What happens in the next 10 years is going to be critical to the future of human civilization, really genuinely. And no one government or enterprise, no one of us, any of us by ourselves can make a difference, but everybody needs to pitch in. And our job as an organization is to drive systemic change within and beyond the Jewish community. In being part of this ride, and some of you who've been part of it many years running, you've helped to build Chazon to the point that we're at now. The reason that I'm not with you in person right now is because at the moment that you are gathered here, I'm chairing a session at the GA, the General Assembly of the Federation System, focused on climate crisis and what the Jewish community can, could, or should do. It's the first such session in the history of the Federation movement in the United States. When we go into next year, a new president will be inaugurated on January 20th, and 8 days later, it is Tu B'Shvat. And we're saying to everybody, and we would say to you now, plan on your Jewish organization, your shul, your kids' day school, to do something for Tu B'Shvat this year, not just fruit and nuts and not just for kids. Ask the question, we're Jewish, what can, could, or should we be doing about the world right now? We go from Tu B'Shvat to Earth Day, to September of 21, the start of the next Shemitah year, November, which is COP26. Chazon has been asked to coordinate a Jewish response at the UN Climate Conference. And we will then come into a new 7-year cycle in Jewish life. And we're saying to everybody 2 things, and I say now to each of you. Firstly, as individuals, commit to what we're going to be launching next year. We're doing a soft launch at the moment, a Brit Chazon. Commit to 3 things. Number 1, make some further change in your own behavior. Number 2, put time and money into organizations that are making a difference. And number 3, raise your voice in public space or in any institution that you're part of. And secondly, any Jewish institution, frankly, every Jewish institution, should be part of the Chazon Seal of Sustainability, which involves making a multi-year commitment to systemic change. What's the power we use, the food we serve, the education we deliver, the interfaith peace, working with our neighbors, and so forth. So, thank you. The rides were never about the rides. Getting on a bike is good. Raising money is good. Meeting old friends, making new friends is good. Learning about the work of the Arava Institute and Chazon is good. But all of this is genuinely to a larger purpose. All of this is genuinely because we have an obligation to turn the Jewish community outwards to help make a healthier and more sustainable world for everybody. So thank you so much. We hope you have an amazing ride this week. I look forward to joining you virtually. And I really, 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 really hope that I will see some, and I hope all of you, on a bicycle this time next year in Israel. Toda rabah, shana tova, b'hatzlacha, nesiya tova. Bye.
Great. And just extend a thank you to Nigel joining us from afar. And just to conclude with one more point to tie some of Nigel's pieces together, that Nigel began by speaking about the idea of the difference between optimism versus pessimism, and thinking about optimism being that expectation that things will get better. And it's interesting to compare optimism with the idea of hope. While hope is more of that vision and that desire that we're going to get better. And Nigel teaches us and focuses on the idea that optimism isn't really a Jewish value when thinking about it, but it's that idea of hope and that vision towards creating that deep commitment. And for us at Chazon, the rides and everything that it represents really symbolizes that vision, Chazon, a vision of that hope, that of changing the world and helping to make it a more sustainable and equitable place for all. And with that, I'm thrilled to introduce our strong partners and teammates in creating this incredible Israel Ride experience. Miriam May and David Lair, the executive director of the Arava Institute, and Miriam May, the CEO of Friends of the Arava Institute, to teach us more about Arava.
Thank you, Alana. And I want to thank Nigel, who's not here, but I want to thank our partner, Chazon, for the partnership, which has been really exceptional and meaningful over the years. I want to thank the staff of Chazon who have turned around and put on this phenomenal event. I want to thank our friends at the Arava Institute, Friends of the Arava Institute in Boston, for helping put this incredible event together. And of course, my own team here, Avigail, and the staff of the Arava Institute. I also just want to thank all of you for joining us, for participating in this. I agree with David, it's bittersweet. It is sad that this week should have been a week of excitement, of thrill, of putting our bikes together, and of getting the snack food ready and the water ready and the trucks ready and taking off and the chauffeur blowing, all of these exciting things. It's an exciting, exhausting, and fulfilling week, and we really miss it. On the other hand, this is an amazing opportunity for all of us to be able to meet, to see each other, to be able to present the work of both Chazon and the Aravai Institute in this virtual matter. Because we believe that the environment can't wait for peace, and because we believe that working together on environmental issues here, Israelis and Palestinians working together to improve the environment, to mitigate climate change, we are actually building the foundation for peace. The Aravai Institute has tried to advance cross-border environmental cooperation in the face of political conflict through our academic program, where we bring Jews and Arabs together, Israelis, Palestinians, and Jordanians, to learn about the environment in an academic program here on Kibbutz Keturah. Our research, our groundbreaking research into renewable energy, sustainable agriculture. Just this summer, we were privileged to be able to participate in the harvest for the first time in 2,000 years of the Judean date, a date tree that was sprouted from a date seed that Dr. Elaine Soloway and her colleagues found on Masada and planted and sprouted here on Kibbutz Keturah. Our own Dr. Clive Lipchin has developed, together with his colleagues, a method for testing for COVID-19 infections in Bedouin villages which don't have centralized sewage through sewage water. It's a new method. And Dr. Tariq Abu Hamid has developed multiple projects both in the West Bank and in Gaza, looking at renewable energy as a source for energy scarcity in the region. The Aravai Institute alumni throughout the world and here in this region are having an impact on the environment as well as building relations. Throughout this week, this amazing virtual event, you are going to have the opportunity to meet many of our colleagues, to meet the founder of the Aravai Institute, Professor Alon Tal. You'll have a chance to meet with some of our colleagues from Gaza. You'll have a chance to meet with our alumni who are really the backbone of the Aravai Institute and have been, in some senses, the backbone of the Israel Ride. So there's a phenomenal opportunity over the next week to get to know better the Aravai Institute, the work that we do in advancing cross-border environmental cooperation here in this important region of the world. And right now I want to turn it over to my colleague and friend, CEO of the Friends of the Aravai Institute, Miriam May.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today. It's really great to be here with colleagues and friends and our hardworking staff who's made this all happen at Chazon, at the Friends of the Aravai Institute, at the Aravai Institute, and brought all this together in amazing, thoughtful cooperation that will make this a lively and energizing week. A way to bring this wonderful community. And I miss kind of yelling at you about which bike and which mechanic you're going to be with today. It's like my special place. but I don't miss, no, just kidding. It is great to be here with you, and I really appreciate it. The work of the Arava Institute is really so valuable for us and for the community, and so unusual. We say the only thing more scarce than water in the region is trust, and the ability of the Arava Institute over the 24 years to build that trust has been an amazing opportunity and leads to the kind of cross-border opportunities that David was talking about. Without some fundamental understanding that we can cooperate. You know, everybody says there's no partner for peace, there's no one to work with. Well, we prove that wrong by proving the possibility of cooperation. The Friends of the Arava Institute is still trying to recruit students, though almost every college has told us they're not doing spring semester. So we're turning that on a dime and bringing the Arava Institute out to universities, out to communities, out to partners, and we're getting enormous interest, but because we offer something unusual, both in understanding of the Middle East, understanding of the possibility of cross-border, bringing students who are alumni of our program, who've engaged in peace building, who have skills at, wait for it, listening to each other, who are Arabs and Israelis that can come together and demonstrate this. And also universities want geopolitics of the Middle East taught by people who do geopolitics in the Middle East and cross-border water management. So we're developing something new and bringing it out on the road. And we're also getting interest from people who want to talk to us about the Gulf states and how we bring what we've already accomplished, how we can bring them to that table. So the excitement here is real. It's an interesting year for recruitment for students, for fundraising, for all those things. As Nigel said, there are challenges, but we are delighted to be here. We're so grateful that you're here with us. And I turn it back to Alana, just in case I'm not.
Yes, no, you're
good.
great. Thanks. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Miriam and David, for helping to frame what we're all doing here today. And it's my pleasure to introduce David Eisenberg, who's going to share a little bit more about one of the key values that our whole Israelite community really holds dear. Oh, David, you are muted. Give us 1 second.
I'm not used to being muzzled until somebody else gives me permission to be unmuted. So thank you, Alana. And thanks everybody for being here. Were we in Israel at this point in orientation, I would be talking about safety. And so you might be asking yourself, so we're not actually doing a physical bike ride this year. Why is David talking about safety? And it's because we actually focus on safety, not just on the ride, which is a significant part of that talk, but also safety for everybody in the community throughout the ride. It should be a comfortable setting. A little bit of a reminder, while most of the riders, not all, but most of the riders are Jewish, the crew is very diverse. The crew is Jewish, Christian, Muslim, from Israel, the Palestinian territories, Jordan, and the rest of the world. And we want them to feel absolutely positively just as safe, just as comfortable as we are, as riders and other participants. We're not used to actually talking to Palestinians about their perspective. We've heard other perspectives. We want to be sure that everybody who's participating this week, just as we would be on the ride, feels very comfortable speaking up, very comfortable that they're heard. I was intrigued a few weeks ago, and I was actually just intrigued now as Miriam was talking about listening. It's a special skill. At Yom Kippur, our rabbi chose to speak one of his only 2 sermons was about civil discourse and listening. And he pointed out it's not about, well, of course I'm listening, because as soon as you're finished, I get to say, gotcha. It's about listening so I can really hear you and understand your perspective. This week we'll have programs there. Everything's optional this week, but we'll have programs where you get to hear from a woman living in Gaza. You'll get to hear from students and alumni of the Institute about their perspectives. try and understand where they're coming from, try and hear them, try and observe how they look at the world. I think you'll find that much more ultimately engaging, and it will also be safer for them, but really for you, much more engaging and meaningful to walk away from the week with a better appreciation for how some other people look at things that you may have looked at from a very different perspective for a long time. It's not to change anyone's mind, it's to appreciate the perspectives that other people have. So we would ask you to keep that in mind throughout the week. One other thing, the schedule this week is a very flexible schedule. Most of what we are doing, we are recording, and it will be available for viewing later. The sessions with the alumni and the sessions with the participant from Gaza, for their privacy and for, unfortunately, for their security, those sessions will not be recorded. So we strongly encourage you to sign up for those, participate in them when you can, because it won't be something that you can come back to later and watch the recording. It won't be saved. So thank you very much. I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and I hope everyone feels like they take away from the week a little bit of learning about somebody else's perspective on the environment, on the region, on how we all best move forward together. Thank you.
Thanks so much, David. And moving forward, I am thrilled to introduce two other really crucial, important members to the Israel Right Experience, Abigail and Lindsay, who are going to share a little bit about what their roles are and how they help the Israel Ride come together through their work all year.
Hi, everybody. My name is Abigail. I am the Israel Ride Director. I am at the moment here in nighttime in Kibbutz Ktorah in Israel. This is where the Arava Institute is. I'm in my office at the Arava Institute. I have been the ride director since 2016. I have been on all the rides since then, except for 2017, where my daughter was born on the first day of the ride, so I wasn't actually on the ride that year. And I'm very intrigued and excited to be here on this virtual ride. My role as director in Israel is to make sure that all the logistics in Israel are done, that the ride goes as smoothly as possible from the moment you get off your plane to the moment you get back on the plane at the end of the ride. You heard mention already of the crew, a very varied crew from many different places. We have crew that is professional, tour guides. Bill was just here, but he had to go, but you'll hear from our tour guides later in the week. We have mechanics. One of our mechanics will say something soon after Lindsay and I. We have bus drivers, medics, truck drivers, all these people escorting us throughout our route. And of course, we have one of the things that makes the Israel Ride so different and so special is, next slide, please. Our road escort is the crew that are alumni of the Arava Institute. So I'll let Lindsay take over here and talk about our alumni crew.
Hi, everyone. This is, you could say, my 8th ride in a way. I've been working with Abigail since she came on as director, and before that with Tali. In 2010, I was originally a crew member and then a photographer for 2 years, and the crew leader for the last 4 years. So this has been given me a running joke of all the positions that I'm eventually going to be in on the ride. But for the meantime, I still love the crew leader position because this means working with so many of the Arava, the alumni of the Arava Institute. So Abigail is on the kibbutz, I'm in Tel Aviv. And since we're not working on the ride this year, I'm getting to work with high schoolers on other environmental issues, which is also really nice. I just want to share also that more words about community in addition to what everybody else has been saying. We already know that the ride is really special because of the crew. And this has been also an interesting time to reflect on the crew as a wider community, because in a way, I think it's always been more clear that the riders are this shifting community that ride every 2 years, or there's always a 50% retention of people each year. And with the crew, we usually see it as the people who are on the ride itself at the time. It's a job that they get paid. They're here for this specific days of experience. And now, as we're reaching out to people more and understanding who can take part in these different sessions, it blurred the lines once again of who's the crew. It's not who's on the 2020 crew, it's who's within our community has been part of the crew. And we realized that so many, there's also the Arva Institute alumni community, there's also the Israel Ride community. And I think what's special about the alumni who've been on the ride is that it's been an additional reflecting process for them on what it meant to be part of the Arva Institute. Something that, just so you guys know, that each year we really actually discuss the meaning of connecting to all the riders. And it's not just something that people show up to and do. We really spend time as a group discussing this and reflecting on it. And I think that that it's this kind of special step as an Arva Alumni Institute coming to the ride. You continue to understand what your role is in supporting the organization. So it's almost a stepping stone for the alumni who go out into the world to look back on the Institute, because they're seeing all these people who are coming and supporting and in many ways, also in financially, and also actually coming together as a community of people and around values and ideas. And it's strengthening their own commitment to the Arva Institute. So it's a very important step. And within the alumni community, we often refer to the ride as one of the biggest alumni gatherings of the year. But it's not just because it's a gathering that people get together. It's actually a very significant time of reflection on this community, and how once you're in the bubble for a while, and then you go out into the world and you look at how all these things are relating to each other. So I think this has just been a nice time to reflect on that. Abigail?
Thank you, Lindsay. I just wanted to add that throughout this week, you'll all have an opportunity to meet our crew. There'll be a lunch with crew session on Tuesday, and our alumni crew, I mean. And on Saturday, there'll be 2 different sessions of discussion circles with the alumni of the Arava Institute. In addition, there'll be different lunches on Monday and Wednesday with our lead riders, who unfortunately couldn't make it this evening, but they're really looking forward to seeing you later. Some of you may have caught one of our mechanics, Gavriel, this morning, teaching everyone how to change a tire. It's on the Facebook page still. And now I would like to introduce Barak, who is our head mechanic, who will just say a word or two representing the mechanics and the professional crew. Barak, can you unmute yourself?
כן, שומעים אותי?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Barak. I have a company that's called Israel Pedals, and we've been with this the Israel Ride since the beginning, since 2003. Me and my father. He started it, and well, I'm now is retired, and I for the past 10 or 15 years, I think, I'm here, and it's been a real shock, from March. Since the Corona started, we stopped working, and then they said that the Israel Ride is not going to be also this year. How did you say? One of my mechanics that we built a nice crew during this years. He said that this was the worst message that he got during the Corona. Everybody was expecting this because of this. How to say it? Sorry about my bad English, but it's a very unique ride. And every person that take place with, whether it's riding or working in this ride, it's getting a lot of energy and a lot of good vibes, and everybody is like always talking about that, how special this ride is. And well, hopefully we'll get over this Corona stuff and see you next year on the roads again. That's it. Sorry.
Thanks, Barak. I also, our alumni crew, as Lindsay said, this is a real opportunity for them, the Israel Ride, not just to come and work, but also to spend time together and to meet all of you. The ride crew, they miss each other, they miss you. A lot of them fly into Israel every year specifically for the ride, take time off from their busy jobs and families every year specifically for the ride. We have a message from one of our alumni crew members. So Alana, please.
Life on the road, you're riding so good. Life on the road, you're riding so good. Hey everybody, hope you're having an awesome time riding out there. Thanks a lot for joining us for the virtual Israel ride, and we hope to see you next year here in Israel with us. Thank you so much from past crew members and current ones. Peace.
Thank you. That was Ofek. Some of you may recognize him, and hopefully some of you also recognize the song. That's it from Israel. On to you, Ilana.
Great. Thanks so much, Abigail. And so, as everyone has mentioned, one of the sad parts of not being together is that typically when we do orientation in Israel, we are all up and we are walking up and down staircases from room to room during orientation. So we wanted to take 30 seconds to take a pause and just encourage everybody to stand up out of their chairs and think about how Asaf showed us this morning, how we stretch and get all of our muscles going and getting ready for our rides later on in the week. So we're going to take a 30-second frame break, stretch break. So I want to see everybody stand up, give me some stretches, hands in the air, to the side. Think about you're biking up all of those different hills. You're going down all of those different descents in Israel, and just get yourselves moving before we dive back into the next part of our session. Think about walking up all those staircases to get to the next orientation session, walking from hotel to hotel, moving your bike box from mechanic to mechanic, carrying your luggage every morning. Great. Thank you for humoring me with some stretching. So what would our orientation be without a route briefing from Howie Rodenstein, our ride founder and chair? So I'm thrilled to turn the presentation back over to Howie.
Now can you hear me? Now can you hear me?
We hear you, Howie.
Okay, welcome everybody. What would we couldn't do an Israel ride, virtual or not, without a route briefing, everybody's favorite part. So that's what we're gonna. Unfortunately, we're not on the route that we would like to be on, but we'll sort of talk about today. Today there were we had a number of rides around the country planned. The weather didn't cooperate, but if you go to the next slide, you'll see what we did today. Yes, that was one of our rides that happened in Boston, of a Chalutzim ride. Go back to the previous slide for a second, Alana. So yeah, we had those Chalutzim rode 92 miles today, if you believe it. And we had Sofim and Shomrim riding. Anyway, just so everybody feels like they haven't missed everything. You know, I always talk about, go to the next slide. This is a time where I think everybody can agree with me. I always talk about that the hill is your friend. I have some people who agree, some people who don't. This week, I think the hill will be everybody's friend, because all we can do and all we have to do is think about them. And then, as usual, what we do on the Israel ride is we always want to know, next slide, how are we doing? So thanks for your support. It's been wonderful. those chalutzim were out there and they weren't doing enough of calling out on the left and staying to the right. So, you know, we have to make sure everybody stays safe. And as we keep going, you know, one of the things, next slide. One of the things on the, everybody knows we have 3 groups on the Israel Ride. And I think as we think about the virtual ride, you can think of it in a similar kind of way. Not every activity, now we don't expect everyone to come and participate in every activity. So just like you choose your riding group, you can choose your activities. There are both educational ones and fun ones and social ones and physical ones. And we hope just you'll find your place during the week. So thanks for being here. And I hope that brought back a couple of good or not so good memories. And now let's move on. So I'm going to present Alana and Sarah, who will walk you through the details of a lot of what's going to happen, how to make it happen, how to participate, and take it away, ladies.
Great, thank you so much, Howie. So as Howie just mentioned, usually in our route briefing, this is the route we're talking about as we ride from Jerusalem down to Eilat physically on our bikes. But this year, this is a little bit more what our route looks like, with lots of different opportunities to connect with our community in active ways, in emotional ways, and in programmatic ways, and in virtual ways. And we would love for everyone to join all of our different events, but really the whole structure of this week is for all of you to create your own experience, whether that's out on your bike, riding independently, riding with friends, joining us virtually, and participating in different social events, and really creating your own journey and your own experience to help bring the magic of the Israel Ride into your own life. So just to feature a few of the brief highlights of the week, we have so many different social events happening, including happy hours, gatherings for new riders in different demographics, those key moments that build the virtual ride and Israel Ride community, including Kabbalat Shabbat on Friday, and gathering together overlooking a virtual Mitzvah Ramon for Havdalah on Saturday night, and bringing back old favorites like an Israel Ride talent show. Lots of different educational programmatic experiences. We've heard about the opportunity to learn from the incredible Alon Tal, a chance to engage with some Chazon educators and learn about how we can make our communities more sustainable, learn how to make our own pickled vegetables, and of course, ride classics like alumni panels. And this is the Israel Ride. We know that a lot of our opportunities about being together in community are about being physical and being active. So there's in-person rides, virtual rides each morning, and lots of different opportunities to do yoga and Zumba together with our community. And then the Israel Ride is also a tour. And so there'll be opportunities to go on live virtual tours with Jared and Bill, our longtime Israel Ride tour guides, take a tour of the brewery on Kibbutz Keturah and learn about what it means to be a microbrewery, and take a tour of the incredible Isabella Friedman farm, Chazon's organic farm at our retreat center in Connecticut. And then we're thrilled that tomorrow there will be a grand opening release of our brand new virtual reality Israel Ride route, which is a wonderful video that everyone can download and experience what it's like to ride the Israel Ride from the seat of a bicycle. And you may be thinking about, how do I know what's going on? So every day on the virtual Israel Ride, you'll be receiving an email in your inbox, just like you did this morning, our daily cue sheet email with today on the Israel Ride. That email will be filled with the different Zoom links, the programs happening that day. And as already has been mentioned, a significant portion of all of our programs is going to be streamed and recorded. So if you're not available, you're able to catch up at a later time. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, our Instagram channel, and on YouTube as an opportunity to catch up with other types of events. And Sarah, to turn it over to you to think about further opportunities for communication.
Yeah, hello everyone. I am Sarah Pilavin. I work with Alana at Chazon, one of the Israel Ride beneficiaries. We're here to help you. So please reach out to us if you have any questions. You can email us at info@israelride.org. And we'd be happy to walk you through registering for events, best ways to participate in different events. You can follow us on Facebook. We are facebook.com/IsraelRide. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on YouTube and Strava. All of these links are going to be available in that daily email update that Alana was talking about. And again, if anyone has any questions about anything, please feel free to reach out. We really have an amazing week of programming lined up for you, like Alana was just showing, and we want to make sure that everyone is able to attend. And please make sure that your Zoom is as up to date as possible. We've included the download updates for Zoom in that daily email. For the best viewing experience, we definitely encourage people to join events on a computer as opposed to a phone. Then you're able to see a bunch of faces at once, see screen shares and faces at the same time. And again, thank you so much for being here. We're really, really excited to have you all, and we're really excited for everything that's going to happen this week.
Great, thanks, Sarah. And for our final speaker of our orientation session today, I'm thrilled to turn it back over to David Eisenberg for one last important reminder. Sorry, David, you should be unmuted.
I think the key is just me getting on and off mute. You think that by this point in the pandemic, I would be good at that. One last thing, and I think I already mentioned it earlier, registration for next year is open. We are as excited as we are about this year. I think it would be a gross understatement to say we're not even more excited about being back in Israel in person next year. I don't usually get emotional about these things, but actually Barak's story about what one of the mechanics said to him when they learned that this year's ride was going to be canceled. You think about it, we probably start off with simple assumptions about the mechanics that it's their job, but you can tell even for this gentleman who yes, it is his job, but it's also a deeply, deeply meaningful thing to be, excuse me, in Israel for the bike ride and be part of this community. So my hope for this week is that everybody has a wonderful week, that they learn a lot, they do engage with the community, they do get more of a sense of some of the really diverse people and perspectives in this community and grow some from that. And my other hope for this week, frankly, is that we finish the week, because of rollovers from this year's rescheduled ride, we already have about well over 50 people registered for next year, but I'd love to end the week with that at twice that number, frankly. And I think people know that in about half of the years, the Israel ride sells out. I certainly hope that the 2021 Israel ride is another sellout. So I strongly encourage you, register, invite your friends to register. There will not be a time the rest of the year where it costs less to register. We do that as a matter of policy and fairness to all of our riders. And as I said at the top of the orientation, if COVID extends itself and ends up requiring that we cancel or reschedule the ride, the registration, and any related fees will be refunded. So thank you everybody for being here. I hope it's a wonderful week. I look forward to seeing people throughout the week and looking forward to it. But I'm also looking forward to being in Jerusalem next year. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, David. And just to conclude with a brief update on our numbers, with our 2020 registration rollovers, people who chose to commit this past June to join us in 2021 and new registrants from this morning, we're actually close to 90 riders already registered for 2021. And we look forward to that number continuing to grow over the course of this week. And just as a final reminder and a chance to express some further gratitude, thank you all for being here to kick off our ride this afternoon, and hope that many of you will join us again tonight at 7:30 p.m. for a virtual happy hour with a chance to connect in some smaller groups and continue to build connections with Israel Ride friends, both old and new. And we can't wait to see you all tomorrow and over the course of the whole week for many different programs and presentations. And as we mentioned, please feel free to reach out to us with any questions. We're always available at info@israelride.org. And after we conclude this session, the staff will stay around if people have any questions. And again, thank you so much for being here, and we can't wait for a fantastic virtual Israel Ride week. So thank you. Shalom lehitraot. Thank you for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you as the week continues. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have
you,
a great afternoon
everyone.
and evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. That was very, very good. Hi, Amy.
The first time a mechanic almost made me cry.
Barak, you were great. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Barak.
Really outstanding.